started off with my father back in '65 doing judo and wrestling in Toledo. Me personally, I started off teaching defense first. I like the defense and the counteraction a little more than I like the offense. But my son and some of my other coaches, they like offense first. But we started off teaching defense first, how to get out of everything and how to defend everything. Just keeping it fun. A lot of times, if you don't have success the first time out or you run into a lot of adversity, then maybe take a season off and just train the wrestling and have fun with the wrestling instead of going to beat. Just train wrestling, go in the wrestling room, train, wrestle around with the guys, and maybe take a year off and come back when you feel a little bit more comfortable so that you don't get discouraged. First and foremost, I would always have to say my son, but we exclude him out of the equation because I would be biased towards him. But you had Gerard Trice, Marcel Dubois, Anthony Jones, Deontay Lacey, Lovell. I could go on and on and on. At different points, they were just as good as one another. So, but I've had hundreds, so it'd be hard to say who was best, but those guys by far were the most accomplished probably with Gerard Trice, and him and Marcel, they won probably the most state championships, and Tony Jones, Lacey, and Lovell. Mat awareness. He just knew where he was at all times and what time it was in the mat. He always knew when to be urgent, when not to be urgent. Mat awareness was as good as anybody we ever coached. To teach youth wrestling, first of all, but it's a method in which you teach it. From my perspective, I have to do more mentoring than I have to do coaching because of just from the area that I'm in. So, making it fun, making it interesting, and making sure that the kids learn wrestling and what moves they need to learn first, what moves are effective, instead of teaching a whole bunch of stuff that they don't need. So I try to teach mentorship, learning, and the proper techniques that they need. The 4 or 5 things that I think they need to be successful as a wrestler. That's what I do. Well, in some ways they go hand in hand, but physical toughness is basically a lot of what your body can withstand and how much you can put your body through. And the mental toughness is basically what you can motivate yourself to do. What can I motivate you to do in the mind? How far can I push your mind? Because your mind is unlimited. As you develop the physical toughness, you develop a certain amount of mental toughness. As you know, the Silverback motto is fortitude, aptitude, attitude. All of the traits can be taught. All of the traits can be taught, but some people are just come here naturally with some come here mentally tough, some come here physically tough, some here come super strong, some here come super quick, some super fast, some slow and it can adapt to everything. And I'm kind of, I'm a partial to the kid that can adapt to every situation. But you are born with a certain amount of the talents, but everything can be taught. Well, sometimes if I want to teach physical toughness, I may put you in the ring or on the mat, and I may put you in there for 25, 30 minutes. And sometimes if I want to do something mental, I may give you a puzzle and try to see if you can figure out what the puzzle is. I may give you a word crossword puzzle. I may give you a mathematic problem or scramble up the word wrestling and see can you unscramble it, or see how long it takes you to unscramble. So you frustrate unscramble it, or do you stay on the task to do it. So I use a number of different methods, on the mat and off the mat. My whole thing going back to what you were saying, what do I think a wrestling coach is, those type of things. Wrestling coach, teacher, or parent, those things are careers. Those are things that are 24/7. So when I figure when you stop being a teacher, when you stop wanting to work at it 24 hours a day, then you should retire. When you stop wanting to make a kid better in wrestling, you should retire. These are careers. They're not just jobs. So when those guys who take it just as a job, they only get so far. Those guys who take it as a career, they always have the most success coaching kids. Well, first of all, let's start by saying that this year they're trying to get started again, and throughout the years they have tried a pilot program here, a pilot program there, but there's a lot of talent here, and I just felt like, and have always felt like, and my coaches before me and the coaches before them and all the old times I talked to, just felt like people were afraid to open up that can of worms in the city of Detroit just because of the talent. You get so much talent here, you may have a lot of championship teams coming from down here, and for whatever reason, the powers that be just decided not to do it because they could have been did it 75 years ago. And it's like that in most of the major cities, where there's a concentration of inner city kids, they just don't have it. Most of our inner city kids have to go out and wrestle in Rochester. They got to go out and wrestle in Catholic Central. They got to go wrestle in Ball Lake. They got to go wrestle somewhere in the suburbs to fit into a wrestling program. Because once we normally do it here in the youth league, we don't have an outlet for them up until this year coming up. I feel like championships are made in the summer for the simple fact that I don't see how you can get better if you have a craft and you take off 2 or 3 months and go do something else and try to come back to it. That's with school or anything. I think if you're a C student and you take off in the summer and you're going from the 5th grade to 6th grade, I think it's virtually impossible for you if you don't study and try to get better to be smarter when you get to the 6th grade. I think if you're a wrestler and you are taking 2nd and 3rd place and you take off in the summer, I think it's impossible without you doing the summer work for you to gain on the guy who's taking first. So make the changes, you make the adjustments, you make the biggest growth in the summer, but only if you try and apply yourself to the craft that you're doing. Well, the key with Lovell is it started back with Gerard and Trice and Marcel DeBose and Tony and Lacey and all those guys when he decided to want to switch over and help those guys out a little bit. And the key to Lovell makes him special. Lovell travels from state to state, coaches other kids in other states from New York all the way to California. And he's learning from some of the all-time greats. He's learned from the Harry Lester, the T.J. Williams, the Johnny Johnsons. I can go on, and the Carl Forsyths, the Harvey Twisters, the Vernon Hills, Charlie Moore, Ken Carricker. So he's constantly learning the Mark Chiarellas. He's constantly learning and picking up things from all of the all-time greats, David Moore. So Lovell is constantly studying and traveling and picking up new techniques all the time. He's constantly making friends, the Darian Caldwells, the Ed Roofs, the Joey Davises. You got to remember Lovell associates and talks and keeps in contact with those guys all the time. So anything new that's coming up with wrestling, mixed martial arts, or whatever, he's constantly picking it up all the time if he's not traveling to do it. He'll travel out of town to teach a kid in New Jersey. Next week, month, he might be in Ohio teaching a kid. Next month, he could be in California. And that's what makes him well-rounded because he's picking it up all from freestyle to Greco to sambo to jiu-jitsu, folkstyle. He's picking with it all and combining it into his little thing. Well, the way our society is set up, it doesn't make any sense for you to be able to play a sport and you can't spell the sport. The whole purpose and main thing of the wrestling is, which is use wrestling as a thing, is that wrestling is supposed to be a way to get opportunities in life for you to be able to go to college and grasp on the other things, opportunities maybe to help you get to college for free so that you can be a zoologist, so that you could be a scientist, so that you could be a doctor. You use it as a gateway to do other things, and that's what I really push with the kids. Use wrestling, use sports to get into college to make you a dual threat. Maybe you might be an Olympic wrestler, but there's nothing wrong with being an Olympic wrestler and a doctor. There's nothing wrong with being a world championship wrestler and being a pharmacist. There ain't nothing with being a world championship wrestler and being a zoologist. You use it as a gateway to do whatever it is that you really want to do. Over the last couple of years, was to start with that, my way has actually been great towards us. When we get to the point where we walking out of tournaments and stuff like that, you just, after so many years, you can tell when things are going to snowball. So instead of letting things snowball and get out of hand, it's just best to come back and wrestle another day. You know, it's not that important. It's youth league wrestling, it's developmental wrestling, so it's really not that important. You know, the guys already got your money, so they can have the money. So instead of one of my parents or myself, better for you to walk out. But over the last couple of years, you know, my way's it's been good. We've had the guys in each region. We sit down, we talk, chuckle, we eat pizza, and we laugh about it, and we talk about it and figure out what it is that we really want. And the only thing that we ever wanted was just to get an equal share on the match. And I do realize that a lot of the guys that's refereeing the matches are youth guys trying to make a dollar. They don't know everything about wrestling. They make mistakes. So it's just basically everybody understanding about what's going on with everybody else. We want the same thing for the Silverback kids as everybody else wants for their kids. That's just basically a fair shot. And over the last couple of years, it's gotten a lot better. To all my fellow coaches, I want all y'all to get out and beat the streets and try to make wrestling in the city of Detroit big as it can be. Got 50, 60, 70,000 kids. A lot of them out here on the playgrounds with nothing to do. They probably would be great wrestlers. Come out here and try to snatch some of these wrestlers up into these schools. If not, teaching some youth wrestling, and hopefully they'll be able to get somewhere. There's tons and tons of us who have wrestled, who have coached, have young families now, and we need to actually get out here and reach out and touch some other kids and try to give them an opportunity to get out of the situations they're in.